If you feel the front of your hip pinching when you pull your knee up into your chest like this, first of all, that is not a good thing, and that is called aberrant joint function. It's also not the hip flexor muscles that you're feeling when you're doing this. It's most likely the joint capsule itself and the ball of the leg bone ramming into the housing of the hip joint. Lots and lots of hip flexor stretching in this case typically can make this worse. Today I'm going to show you the two easiest and most effective drills to start to address this problem. And these are things that you should start to feel somewhat instantaneous results from experimenting with. Blake here, GuerrillaZen Fitness. First of all, when you're pulling your knee up into your chest, what you're technically doing is flexing the hip. You're doing this, and you're actually giving the muscles on the front of the hip, like the hip flexors, you're taking the stretch out of those muscles and you're giving them slack. So when you pull the hip up into the chest, you should feel the glutes and maybe the hamstrings stretching. Now, if you are feeling the front of the hip, again, it's probably not the hip flexors because you're actually giving those muscles, you're shortening those muscles, taking the stretch out of them, all right? What you might be feeling is the ball of the hip ramming into the acetabulum like this. This is something that we call poor joint centration. You see, the hip is a ball and socket joint. There's a ball and then there's a socket. And when the joint is optimally centrated, that means that the ball is in the center of the socket. And when it is, you can do everything you want to do with that hip, typically with little problems. You can flex it, extend it, internally rotate, externally rotate, adduct, abduct. Everything moves around with buttery smoothness and glide. But if that femoral head is not positioned perfectly in that center of the socket and it's, forwards slightly like this, that is something that can contribute to that pinching at the front of the hip, typically noticeable during hip flexion like this. You might notice it when you're squatting down, pulling your knee into your chest, maybe even sitting. I'm going to show you two drills right now. One of these drills should unlock more range of motion here, make it a little bit more buttery and smooth. And the second exercise that I'm going to show you is really going to bring it together and teach your neuromuscular system how to own and control that range of motion long term. Let's get into it. All right, the first exercise I'm going to show you is called a banded hip joint distraction. I apologize if I'm a little echoey now. My microphone died mid-recording of this video, but I want to put it out for you anyway. This is a great drill for maintaining optimal hip joint centration while you're working on flexion, which again is that capacity that you have to pull the hip up into the chest. All right, what the band simply does is it holds the femur a little bit better in the joint socket than how you'd likely move without the band if you're experiencing that pinch in the hip. Okay, and if we can do anything to allow that range of motion to be more comfortable, then we want to do that, because at the end of the day, if we don't flex the hip, we're not going to improve that range of motion. Motion is motion. If we're missing hip flexion, we have to do stuff that involves hip flexion. We just, want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's not aggravating things or making things feel worse. So wrap a band around a rack or something very stable. Get a lot of tension on that band. You want it pulling decently hard on your femur that way. And then what you're going to do, you want this also to be as close up, like in your groin at the top of your hip as you could possibly get it. So all the way up, right? Very simple. A lot of tension on the band. Pull the knee into the chest. Come back. Into the chest. Come back. You want to do about 20 reps of these, right? You might need to have even more tension on the band for this to feel comfortable. And you still might feel a little bit of that hip pinching when you're doing this. Maybe the hip pinching starts here. And if you go past this, you're feeling a lot of that pinching. The band should be mitigating that, but it might not completely eliminate it. But remember, motion is motion, right? If you can come from here, and it's only when you get here that you feel that pinch, just stop right here and don't go past that. Come out of that range of motion, come back. Come out, come back. Come out, come back. Come out, come back. Each time you do this, you might be able to go like a millimeter further than last time. And if you stick with this exercise and do it frequently, you might find that you've just built up a lot of range of motion here. And now you can get to this deep flexed position without feeling that. So a couple things to remember on this. You want a lot of tension on that band, okay? You want to avoid the ranges that are pinchy, all right? Maybe go right before that pinch starts to happen, come out of that range. Come back to that same range, maybe a millimeter further, come out of that range. Come back to that previous, range, maybe a millimeter further, come back out of that. we're trying to scissor in and out of that range of motion and expand the comfort-free range of motion that you have access to, all right? This takes consistency, but as you can see, it's something that can be done very, very fast, and it's something that synergizes massively with the next exercise I'm gonna show you now. All right, so exercise number 2 is going to be hip flexion pails and rails. I've shown pails and rails before. It's an acronym that stands for progressive angular isometric loading and regressive angular isometric loading. Again, that's a fancy way of saying we're gonna put our joint in the position that we're trying to improve, which in this case is when the hip is bent, flexion, and then we're gonna contract our muscles in this position against the stretch, with the stretch. Very simple to do, very powerful, very underrated. You need like a wall or some sort of flat surface. I'm gonna use the squat rack here, but you could use a wall. You could lay down underneath the squat rack, put your leg on a barbell that's like racked. It doesn't really matter, right? Laying next to like a corner of the wall is oftentimes how I have my online clients get set up for this, but you're just gonna prop your foot up straight on a wall like this, okay? In this case, the hip is in a flexed position, which again, is that position that we're trying to improve. And you can hold this kind of like a static stretch if you want to for maybe a minute, but the real magic is gonna come in when we start working those muscles. So what you're gonna do here, after maybe holding this for a minute, practicing diaphragmatic breathing, getting your body comfortable with this position, is you're gonna start to contract the hamstrings, all right, by trying to push the foot into the rack, all right? I'm starting to do that now. Nothing's moving, all right? Probably doesn't look like I'm doing anything. It looks like I'm still, laying here. But I'm activating this hamstring like I'm trying to kick my foot down like this, all right? And I'm building up the contraction in the hamstring harder and harder and harder and harder and harder until I'm at about 30 seconds. At that point, I'm pushing pretty much as hard into that wall or that rack as I can, okay? The next part, and this is the most important part of this, is the rails portion. Now you're actually going to activate the hip flexors, the muscles in the front of the hip, and pull your foot off, all right? And keep your lower back flat, right? You don't want to roll up on your pelvis here. Lower back is flat, but you're pulling the foot up towards your face here as hard as you can, all right? And building up that contraction gradually over 30 seconds, going harder and harder and harder until you're maxed out at 30 seconds, and then you relax. And that's one round, okay? You're gonna feel a lot of the hamstring stretching here, but we're really kind of focusing on the hip flexion with this setup, all right? And that's basically how you do one round of this. Push in for 30 seconds, pull away for 30 seconds, activating the hip flexors. Again, that second part is the most important part. You might feel a lot of hamstring and calf stretching, that's normal, but we're trying to activate the hip flexors here, all right? That's how you do it, all right? If you want to progress this, if this is too easy with your legs straight up, that's where like getting under a barbell that's like racked in a squat rack can become useful, because then your starting position can be greater than 90 degrees. You could like get underneath the barbell and have your starting position be up here. So then you're contracting here, pushing down, pulling up, pushing down, pulling up. Again, a wall or a squat rack is more accessible to a lot of people, but you can get under a barbell and kind of do the same thing, and the stretch is a little bit more adjustable if you're underneath a barbell instead of something fixed like a squat rack or a wall. But that is how I have a lot of clients improve their hip flexion and get a lot more buttery smoothness in that range of motion. That's how they control it. So one set of 20 reps in the first one, and then like 2 rounds of this, 30 seconds pails, 30 seconds rails, right? You should be able to get this done pretty quickly in like less than 5 minutes. And if it helps, keep doing it. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did and you got value from this, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Comment down below, let me know what you want me to make videos on in the future. If you're interested in working with me, having me help you correct your posture, your muscle imbalances, your biomechanics, your movement pattern compensations, if a lot of this stuff is too far over your head, open up the description down below, click the first link there, or click that first comment in the comment section down below. I'll pin a link to my coaching there. But that's it for today. Let me know what you want me to make videos on in the future, and I'll see you next time.